Sellers have been on the hunt for buyers ever since the dawn of manufacturing. The brand was the business world's first attempt to get buyers to actively look for a specific seller. Unfortunately, the brand is not a universally acceptable tool to all businesses. Take a look at these industrial products. There are hundreds of suppliers of each of these product groups. Manufacturers have spent millions trying to establish a brand in each of these product segments, but the buyers aren't fooled. The buyers choose the best price at the best delivery, period. Money spent for brand creation for these types of products is at best a misguided expense, and at worst an exercise in ego gratification. To derive benefit from branding, there's a short list of prerequisites required to participate in the branding sweepstakes. First, size. It takes size to play this game. You need a wide geographic coverage to make your investment pay off. Next, you need resources, or more plainly speaking, money and plenty of it. Third, you need some level of exclusivity. A commodity product is seldom invited behind the red rope of the branding elite. And lastly, your product has to be a product in which the buyer has reason to care about the brand. In other words, could it possibly be a problem if the buyer chose to use brand X or brand Y bolts? Probably not. Then there was the perfect storm. The perfect storm that changed the way industrial buyers did their job. This perfect storm consists of three items. 1, the hyper-busy buyer. 2, the internet. And 3, Google. Let's take a look at these. The first part of the perfect storm was the state of business. The ranks of white-collar staff has been decimated since the Great Recession. Older, more expensive buyers and engineers have been laid off and either replaced by younger, cheaper workers or not replaced at all. Second, professional buyers don't shop. They're in pursuit of a solution and need a reliable answer to a specific problem now. Professional buyers are not shoppers, they're stalkers. Stalkers are not in pursuit of a relationship, they're on the prowl for an answer to a problem. Most of all, buyers no longer have time for idle conversation and don't want to be pestered by an onslaught of salesmen. The internet was the next piece of the perfect storm. The internet is the world's party line, where everybody is connected to everybody else. The internet is also the new online public library. The internet is an electronic, online, 24/7 trade show packed with all the information a buyer could hope for. But it's critical to note, research has found that one of the most valued characteristics of online buyers is anonymity. But in spite of all this, the internet by itself is lacking one key thing. Google was the linchpin, the factor that made the two other unrelated events into the perfect storm. Google really does one thing. It finds a needle in a haystack. They have cataloged the entire universe that we call the internet and let us find what we're looking for quickly and without spending any time learning how to use their program. But what it does is almost secondary to when it does it. The when is called ZMOT, or zero moment of truth. The when is that exact moment in which the buyer decides there is a need. Just take a moment to think about this. Zero moment of truth from the seller's point of view. 1, you're not too early and you no longer are at risk of being forgotten when the need finally arrives. 2, you're not too late missing the opportunity because the sale happened yesterday. And 3, you're front and center, sitting there squarely in front of your buyer within seconds of the buyer deciding that they have an itch that needs scratching. These three factors have changed the equation of the industrial buyer's world. The hyper-busy buyer and the internet and Google. Sellers used to spend a fortune trying to find buyers. It was an inefficient process, but it's all we had. Salesmen were going door to door, printing brochures we hoped would be present at the right moment in time, trade shows hoping the buyer would remember the products they saw last February. But now, for the first time, we have the perfect solution. We are there to solve the customer's problem at the zero moment of truth. The transition to this new marketing imperative is really hard. It is strangely counterintuitive. It's like a tee shot on a water hazard to the right. Your swing path has to be out and toward the water hazard in order to impart ball spin from right to left. Or it's like skiing to the right by putting your weight on your left ski. In this case, to get more business by not looking for customers. But the risk of ignoring this revolution is huge. As General Eric Shinseki, U.S. Army Chief of Staff, said, "If you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevance even less." The new paradigm: make yourself findable. Get ready for the zero moment of truth. Make sure it is your company that is front and center at that zero moment of truth. Number one, cut your spending on finding new customers. I'd really like to say stop spending all money on finding new customers, but I realize we have to cross the chasm without killing the patient. For a short time, you will have to straddle both paradigms. Now move some of the finding customers money to getting found. People seem to think that getting found is Google's job, that it's A, free, and it's Google's job to find me. That's called random chance, and personally, I'm not willing to bet the farm on random chance. You have to spend money to put the odds in your favor. Findability and ZMOT cannot happen by itself. Your first spend should be to nuke your current website. What worked in the 1990s and 2000s looks old and dated now. Besides, we've incurred a second revolution called Web 2.0, and once again, everything has changed. And it will change again and again and again. An effective website is not a long-term asset like a drill press. It's a short-term asset like a cell phone. This is the epicenter of getting found. Lastly, when you design your new website, forget everything you know about your business. Get into the head of your buyer. What is he looking for? What is he afraid of? What are his questions? And what will it take to make him feel safe? As a person that lives in your world, a pile of complexity that you live with looks orderly. From your buyer's point of view, it's a confused mess with options and details. Keep your website simple.